All right, Bitcoin Radio. Here we are. We got Joel Comm, Mr. Travis Wright. What's up, fellas? How's it going?
I am not Joel Comm. I am Joel Toshi.
Joel Toshi, that's right. Travis, how's it going, man?
I'm doing great. I am not Joel Toshi, so life is good.
Right Toshi. You could be Right Toshi.
That's true.
Well, I'm pleased to have you guys on the show today. Joel, you're a New York Times bestselling author. You're a self-described eternal 12-year-old. Travis, you are a marketing technologist, and you were the social strategist, the global digital social strategist, I think, for Norton. Is that correct?
That is correct. And I'm an average selling Amazon author.
Average selling Amazon author, which is probably what I relate to most. And I'm not even an author, but I would be pleased with average selling. Nevertheless, You guys, for the most part, you have a regular life. You've had regular jobs throughout your life. But, what you've had the last couple of years now is the host of the Bad Crypto Podcast. And the Bad Crypto Podcast has over 7 million downloads. It is one of, if not the number one podcast in the cryptoverse. You are the leaders of the Free Republic of Badtopia or Bad Cryptopia. I don't even know which one it is these days. But, regardless, you guys are really influential, and it's really great to have you guys on.
Wow. I feel special.
I feel extra influential now.
Not in a short bus kind of way either. I don't know. I mean, we're just two dudes talking crypto. Like any success that I've had over the years, it still amazes me because I really am an eternal 12-year-old just having fun. And when things sync up and everything just works, it still's like, wow, that was cool. How'd that happen?
Yeah, I understand that. Well, Joel and Travis, both of you guys have, and as I told you guys before a couple of days ago, y'all made a really big impact on how I view this space and the things that I do, and you guys have fun doing it. That's what I think the most important thing is that you guys are genuine and you're literally you're going at it with a very organic viewpoint, with a very organic tone. And it's the truth though. You guys are literally just going off the fly most of the time. It's not scripted. And that's not something most people are able to do, guys. And I just kind of want to get a little just for the audience, and most of you who are listening right now, I'm sure that you know who Joel and Travis are. If you don't, you need to follow them. We'll make sure that we plug them at the end. But, Travis and Joel, tell me a little bit about why you guys even started this thing.
Well, I would say this, Joel and I were having a lot of conversations around politics, around the election time. And then shortly thereafter the election, I wrote an article in Huffington Post about people were freaking out about the Russia thing and the John Podesta emails and Hillary and WikiLeaks and all that stuff. And I was like, John Podesta's password was password. He left his phone in a taxi. My 16-year-old son could have hacked him, right? It was like, it wasn't a big nefarious Russian plan. But anyways, if we want to go off on that, how about we just find a solution? And to me, the solution has always been blockchain, because of the transparency, and it's always been voter ID, because if everyone, like with the platform of Civic, has their ID on blockchain, voting can be transparent and we don't have to worry about anybody impacting the election except actual legal voters, right? And so we were having conversations around that. Then sort of politics got a little tiresome, and it really is tiresome. It's very draining. And we were having more and more conversations around crypto, and we were like, and then I made an offhanded comment one day to Joel. I tweeted it or I messaged him and I said, dude, how long? We just had a phony phone call about a hilarious call about crypto or something. And then I messaged him. I said, dude, so how long until we have the Joel and TW crypto show? And he's like, oh, call me. You give me an idea. And then we just went off to the races from that. Right, Mr. Joel Comm?
Yeah, it took within 48 hours. We had done everything necessary to record, produce, and release the first episode. It was massive action taking because we were so excited about it. And I don't think we imagined that it would blow up like it did, but I think it was a combination of a few things. It was the fact that all the other shows at that time were over most people's heads, let alone our own heads, and our heads reside a little lower than most people's heads, except for Mr. Travis Wright. He's tall and wears a big hat on his head. And then it was the fact that we are professional broadcasters already. And then it was the timing. We got into it just before the big bull run of 2017 and everything aligned. Couldn't have planned it, and it just happened that way.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people who've tried to do those things in the same time period too, and you guys were one of the few to rise to the top. But as you guys both noted, you have some experience doing these things in some capacity as journalists, as writers, as professional broadcasters. And I've watched that growth. I've watched you guys from the very beginning. and you've changed in all the right ways, and you've kind of been able to adapt with this market as in tuned as anybody else has. And I've absolutely, my favorite episodes that you guys have done, I think it was in consensus, I can't remember off the top of my head now, but when you guys did the live shows, and I know you got one coming up, I think you're going to do the Vegas blockchain weekend at a World Crypto Conference, is that right?
That is correct.
I'm definitely throwing a party, by the way. So if you're not there, I'm going to be really mad, both of you.
We want engraved invitations.
As long as you don't mind them engraved in soap, that's okay.
That would be best, actually.
I don't need an invitation. I'll just crash the party.
You don't have to crash it. You're invited.
I like to crash parties.
Okay. Well, never mind. You're uninvited. You're uninvited.
So that means I'll be there. I'll be there. It's good.
Travis, it'd be really fun if maybe me and you got into a fight and really sold it.
I don't know. I'm part Mike Tyson, so if you piss me off a little bit, I'm gonna get indubulous and I might just punch you in the mouth. So you gotta be careful, especially when we're in Las Vegas, because like
really good.
That just brings back flashbacks to me.
Well said, man. Well said. I love it. All right, so guys, tell me this: what was the moment you knew that you made it? Like, what was the? I mean, and I know, Joel, you kind of alluded to the fact that like you still kind of take this all in, one step at a time, and it's still surprising.
Yeah,
that
made
you guys
what?
Are where you are.
I mean, I made bacon and eggs for breakfast. Does that count? Made it. I don't know what that means. Made it. Like, we're born, we do stuff, we die. What define made it?
Yeah, in the words of Obama, let me be clear. And that clearness would come into this is that, you guys have really brought yourselves to a point where you're not just well respected, but you have a voice that's exceptionally influential at this moment. And it's been that way now for at least a year and a half, because I know that the first 6 months you blew up immediately, but the last year and a half, you guys have kind of stabilized. You went through all the bear market. You were one of the major voices throughout the bear market, and you still managed to bring content and provide great content through that entire year. And you're still here.
I think it's really due to Mr. Joel Comm's dulcet tones. The people just keep coming back to hear him. And, I think that's probably part of it, and we also bring on a lot of great guests like you. We've had a lot of great conversations with a lot of amazing people. And I don't look at it like, oh, we've made it. None of that. It's just a steady process of ongoing and forward, right? I think that's really what it is. And along the way, you pick up some success along the way. But I'm personally never none of that stuff impresses me. I am all about like, hey, let's have fun. Let's put out great content. I'm about interviewing and chatting and with some of the smartest people in the space. That to me has always been a driving force. And then helping educate folks to help them understand, because we're in the middle of a massive transformation in the economy and in the finance space. And so, crypto is huge. It's not going away, and it's so interesting. And so I think that's really, what? I think we made it whenever we convinced John McAfee to come on the show the first time. We're like, yay, we are amazing now. But I don't know.
And one of the best interviews you can have. He's actually, one of well, not actually, everybody knows this. He's one of the most polarizing figures in crypto ever, right? But the fact that you guys, you haven't just had him on once. You've had him on, what, 3 or 4 times now?
3 times, yeah. And as long as he can stay alive, then we'll have him back again.
Yeah, episode 400 or 380, because you guys
maybe sooner. Who knows anymore? Yeah, we had him on. Usually it's the centennial episodes, 100, 200, and we were thinking 300. But he was on the run, and we're thought, what if he ends up arrested and unable to record from prison, or worse than that, dead. And so we had him on 283, 284, Trev?
Yeah, Live and in Exile, episode 281.
There it is. Travis, it'd be really funny if you ended up with I don't know your personal story, so I'm not trying to assume here, but if you weren't married, if you ended up with a woman who was Mrs. Wrong.
That would be weird. I don't think I would date her. Who would have the last name Wrong? That just seems not possible.
You could hyphenate.
That's true.
Right and wrong.
That's true.
That would be an interesting child last name.
Yeah, I did have a podcast on. I was the podcast host for Technorati, and my co-host was Jennifer Wong. So it was the Wright and Wong way to do social media.
So, we like to duck, duck, go things so people don't have to. And I just did that. I went to houseofnames.com, and there is a wrong history and a family crest. Just, for those who are wondering, the wrong family, WRONG, lived in Cambridgeshire, in the United Kingdom.
The more you
the
know.
Wrong family.
The more you know.
I'm from the wrong family.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
It's a classic. All right. So when you guys really started to, and obviously, you kind of give us that brief history about why you guys created the podcast, but what was it that inspired you to literally get into Bitcoin? And Travis, you've told us our story, and I remember when I was recording with you guys, I told you I didn't remember, but actually, I went back and watched our video. You had explained it on there too. And it is a really interesting story, and feel free to maybe to mention some of the potentially mistakes you could call them back in the day. But what made your brain wrap your mind around why this was important? Like, what is it? I know both of you care a lot. You have really passionate, and very interesting ways of explaining your passion about this space. But, how did the idea for this to matter to you guys start happening? Was there any influences early on?
Well, I would say this. I think the biggest influence to me was whenever I read the Slashdot article in July of 2010. And I said, oh, Bitcoin, magical internet money, right? Because I had known, the economic crash, the recession in 2007, 2008 kind of hit me kind of hard. And, I was actually collecting and buying silver, gold and silver, because I was like, you know what, if this thing crashes, this could be bad. And so I was buying gold and silver up into 2010, 2011. And I discovered Bitcoin, and I thought, oh, this is interesting. But it didn't click because I didn't fully understand the blockchain. Right. I understood. Okay. It's magical internet money. It's kind of a cool novelty more than anything. And so I mined some Bitcoin. Put the miner on my computer. I mined a block. I got 50 Bitcoin. And then I went to Nick Szabo's Bitcoin faucet, got 5 Bitcoin there. And you could actually go every day and get 5 Bitcoin. And I was a genius. I went once and forgot about it. Well, then, I got the 55 Bitcoin, and they were in a wallet on my computer. But then my laptop crashed about a month or two later. And then I got all my important files up, but I left all my Bitcoin. And at that time, Bitcoin was probably worth less than 6 cents a piece. I don't even think that it had a value yet, right? So I had 55 of them. I didn't think about it. I didn't get them off the computer. The computer's trashed. Computer's gone. And I don't have 55 Bitcoin. So, but I never really had a crypto buddy. Right. It's like I was trying to figure it out on my own, but none of my friends that I was having conversations with ever really made a point to get it. They never got it.
He even went to that website, findmeacryptobuddy.com, and there just wasn't a match.
Wow.
Crypto Buddy Finders. Yeah.
Man, the true sportsmanship of finding a friend on the internet. I get it.
Yeah, and I had heard about Bitcoin years ago, not as far back as Travis did, but usually I'm amongst the first when there's a new technology. I'm like, oh, what's this? Cool new toy. I want to play with it. And there was something about Bitcoin that just didn't resonate. I did not understand the mining aspect of it, and I didn't really give it that much thought. I was just kind of put off by this notion that I couldn't grasp little tiny people inside computers mining Bitcoin. It just didn't make sense, and I didn't want to put in the effort to figure it out. And it wasn't until I want to say spring of 2017, almost 2.5 years ago, that I was at a conference here in Denver, and a friend of mine, Davin Michaels, and I were talking, and he brought up something about Bitcoin. I'm like, could you explain that to me? And something he told me just made me finally want to go and research it and go down the rabbit hole. And then, I discovered that Travis was interested in it because he had mentioned something about Bitcoin to me previously. And our discussions just took on, it became a daily habit. And once I understood mining, boom, the whole crypto world opened up before me. I'm like, whoa, not only does this rabbit hole go deep, but the deeper you go, the wider it gets.
Yeah, interesting you bring up the mining aspect, because what you guys did with Badcoin and your concepts around Badcoin, kind of revolve around just the teaching method. Like, learn to conceptualize this, learn how to understand what this is actually doing, And so I think that's an interesting aspect of why you might want to, to branch out and show these people this. So tell us, what's the situation with Badcoin at the moment?
Badcoin is a mineable cryptocurrency, right? So we said, hey, there's so many miners that have a sort of a monopoly on Bitcoin mining, and it's not really possible for regular folks to mine Bitcoin anymore. And so I had a thought. I said, well, what if we could create a blockchain that was mineable by bad computers, right? So like the worse your computer, the better you could mine. And what we came up with was a multi-chain, 5 chains, algorithms built into the one blockchain. And depending on the hash power of your device, it depends which algorithm that you connect to. And each one of those chains, each one of those algorithms are fighting to solve each particular block. And so if you have like a room full of ASIC computers and, you could be competing against, one of the people in Yes Script where there's like maybe 300 people in there mining with MacBooks and PCs, and the MacBook and the PCs could beat them because they have they might collectively have like 1.5 mega hash, whereas, you're sitting in there with all those ASICs, you might be, or those ASIC computers, you might be having 2 or 3 petahash, and the other algorithms can beat that the way that we have it set up. So it's more fair. So anybody can mine. That's the whole object of it. And it's been an interesting ride doing this. And now what's going on is there's a group who wanted to help create a Badcoin foundation. So we're in the process of that being set up as well. So there should be some more stuff down the road that we'll be able to share.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing those updates. When Joel and you first brought up Badcoin to me, I was thinking, it was kind of hard for me to understand, the nature, not in a negative way, but more so just like, what was it that Badcoin was doing different? And then I listened to your first podcast after you told me about it when you explained it, and I'm not going to quote you verbatim, but the way I think it was you, it could have been you, Travis, but whoever said it was more so along the lines of, we want to let everybody have a chance. Like we want to instruct and teach through experience. And this is a great way to do it. And that's where I really felt like I understand why you guys do this stuff. Not everybody in crypto will understand that because they don't deal with people on such a high social level like me and the two of you do. But when I get questions and when I have people who come to me and say, hey, Joe, guess what? I'm in Bitcoin now. I want to understand this, that, or the other. They're like, where do I go first? It's not the easiest answer to always give because it's different for every single person. And so what I thought about when Badcoin, and I've referenced Badcoin several times to people at this point, especially on a private level, I said, go check out what Badcoin's doing. I don't want to pretend like I know everything about it, but it's going to at least be able to break this down and kind of just explain it through the experience of doing it, and I think that was the original intent. Would you say that I'm roundabout correct on that, Joel?
Yeah, I would say you're directly correct, actually. I mean, people can go to badcoin.net and they can start mining today, right? It's not hard to do. We've got a simple guide for people to go through, whether they're on their MacBook or, using a Dell or a Pentium, as long as they have an internet connection, even a Linux box, the instructions are there to mine. And people get so excited, right? Because I got my first reward. After a few hours of mining, they start to come in and they're like, I'm stacking bad. And, they don't, nice. They're just happy to be getting crypto. And whether or not there's an application for it is really up to the community, right? We didn't do any ICO. There's no fundraise for it. It's like, there it is, have fun. And if people decide to mine it and use it, we have had some people use it so far, to make some transactions. And that's what, that's how Doge got started, right? That's how Bitcoin got started. Somebody said, hey, I'll give you 10,000 Bitcoin if you bring me 2 pizzas. Worst purchase ever.
For sure. And, so the evolution of crypto and the evolution of the blockchain has been pretty substantial, especially as social pressures and social expectations. We're a self-regulated, community for the most part. And obviously we hear the news, from the SEC or, President Trump tweets about Bitcoin not being good. We get other opinions from the outside that are opinionated against us or around us, in some capacity. But for the most part, we kind of shaped our own culture. What have you guys both noticed over especially the last couple of years since you've been doing Bad Crypto podcast, that has changed the most? What do you see as like that structure we're at now compared to where it was 2 years ago?
Well, I would say this. I think the ICO run of 2017 really put that price pressure on Ethereum, right? Because everyone was using Ethereum to buy into these shit coins. And so now where there's really no, ICOs going on, there's some IEOs, but those are going rarely. And those things happen and they pop so quick, typically because they're on an exchange and they're like, hey, we're doing the IEO. And then it's live now. Oh, and then we're sold out, right? So, the ICO craze of yesteryear is gone. And so therein lies a lot of the use case of Ethereum, actually, which is why I think the price action for Ethereum is sort of, it's gone down over time. It's significantly from its all-time high. And, so that was something that was really big, is like the big hype cycle around the ICOs hitting in late 2017 and early 2018. Then when the big, long bear market, the crypto winter that we all survived, and then actually coming back out on this side, starting in February, where it started to come back alive from 3,200. So, we got a chance to really be at the forefront of this big crypto goes up, crypto goes down. And now, it's like crypto goes down. You're like, okay, yeah, whoopee-doo, big deal. Crypto go back up again. It's the way it goes. It's down now. Oh, was it almost 12,000? Oh, now it's at 10,000. Oh, wah. It was at 3,200 back in February. So what are you going to do, right? It's like, so I think that was just it. It's just us just becoming more aware of the cycles and how it all works.
For sure. And, this responsibility, and this is where, although we've done different things in the past, and I'm just now getting into this podcasting side, but we both, on both sides, whether it be with Crypto Coin Trader and myself, or with you two and Bad Crypto Podcast, we both have really big responsibilities to make sure that, as we're talking to our community, that number one, that we preface things and that we say certain things, a certain way where it would not incite people to do something stupid. But I'm of the opinion and of the impression, on most people in crypto, they're here to make money. And it's very hard to accommodate people who only want to make money when, you're in a bear market. And so providing content and putting out really good stuff that people relate to is essential. And you don't make it in this space unless that you've been very careful. You guys have done that, as ethically, I think, as anybody else in this space. And you survived it, on top of that, which do not go hand in hand. Being ethical and surviving aren't always what happens. In fact, some of the people who are the most ethical and who did things the right way, they failed in 2018. Whether it be a project or an individual, just because the way that the audiences react and how they expect to be given information. And in the world of social media, where there's information everywhere and it's free for the most part, how is it that you guys have been able to maintain that structure of your personal responsibilities and goals?
I don't know. We just do. I wish there was like a formula we could share with you, but I think it's just we're in. A business partnership is, it's a lot like a marriage, right? You're in and you decide, hey, we're going to work on this together and let's have fun. I carry my part of it. Travis carries his part of it. We bring on team members as needed to, carry their part, a sound engineer, a show producer, operations team, so that we're free to do the part that we enjoy most, which is be content beasts. We love creating content. We love traveling and going to events, doing our show live. We love, being advisors on projects that we think are cool. And we're having so much fun with it that the challenges of doing it, I think, are way, overshadowed by the fact that we just love doing it.
And I would also say that it doesn't necessarily seem like a challenge because we enjoy it so much, right? It's like we have a system. We have, a great team. I would say that we couldn't really do this without our team, right? Because we have a great editor who edits our podcast. We have a great producer who helps put show notes together and help book guests. So, I have an agency in Kansas City called CCP Digital, and they help drive a lot of business development and stuff. So it's not just Joel and I doing it. It's like we have a system and we have a great supporting cast that makes it possible. And we're consistent. Like our folks know we're going to put out, in the main days when the crypto was going crazy, we were doing 4 episodes a week. Then we shot it down to 2 episodes. Now we're back up to 3 episodes a week. but we've been very consistent. We've not had a week where we've not done any shows. We're always doing shows, and our audience keeps tuning in. So I think being consistent is part of that. And like, maybe you don't catch fire immediately, but if you, it can be a slow burn. So just keep at it and keep going.
Feel the burn.
Absolutely.
Feel the black burn. Oh,
yeah.
All right. So what has been your favorite style of content? Like, what do you guys like doing the most?
I think when we have a really great guest, somebody that's super intriguing or controversial, somebody like McAfee is always great fun. We did a survey though, just this last week on the Bad Crypto Mastermind, which is our group on Facebook, which is not nearly as prolific as your group. We've got about 8,000 or 9,000.
Well, that's because I think we blocked about 100,000 spammers from coming in.
Yeah, it's a closed group, but
we also block a bunch too.
Yeah, I bet you do. So we surveyed and we asked people, what is your favorite, the segments we do? And they like the bad news episodes, which is our weekly news program. Not that the news is bad, we're bad. Not that crypto's bad, we're bad. We have baditude.
Yeah, you guys have really taken that brand and done a lot with it. And it incorporates a lot of the principles, I think, to what that you build a culture around your podcast, And by the way, I'm not in your Facebook group, so I would like to be.
Yeah, you're invited. We'll send you an engraved invitation on a bar of soap.
Can I just crash it?
Can
I do the T-Dub style and crash it?
You could try, but I have to moderate you and let you in. So yeah, we have, bad it permeates the culture. We've got a new mascot and his name is Bad Toshi. He also goes by the nickname Baddie. And we do have the Republic of Bad Cryptopia. It's a virtual country where Travis and I are the benevolent dictators. And basically that means we're not dicks.
That is bad.
Yeah, we're just bad.
Just bad. Yeah. I would live in Bad Cryptopia. I think that would be kind of fun.
Yeah, it's a happy place.
Yeah, we're bad meaning bad, not bad meaning good. So it's worse, even worse.
No, I agreed. And, of course, a lot of my audience members, from CCT, they've been following and listening to you guys a lot. And I'm sure a lot of people are, familiar with the Bad Cryptopia. But I really think, as the voices in the space go, you have Pomp, you got Peter McCormick, who is like extreme maximalist. You guys have yourselves, the bad crypto crew. And, there's Laura Shin and a few others that have really been strong. Like they've established themselves as go-to influencers and voices in the space doing podcasts. And podcasts are kind of the rebellion against mainstream news. I think podcasts are probably some of the best place to get news when you find the great people to listen to. And, I think you guys clearly have fallen into that category with 7 million downloads. I mean, that's got to be top in not just in crypto, but like in all of podcasts, you probably in the top 0.01%, I can imagine, with 500 to 1 million podcasts available. That's a really exceptional amount of people who've listened. Where do you find you guys, like when you meet these people? I don't know have you ever interviewed Pomp or have you ever had him on the show?
We've reached out to him multiple times and he said yes multiple times, and yet we've not been able to schedule him. There's a few people that are on our wish list that have not been on the show yet. Pomp is one. Sure. The Winklevi, either or both. And Vitalik has not been on the show. We've had so many though, but yeah, Pomp has not been on yet. Hey, Pomp, come on already, dude. Let's do this.
Yeah, Pomp had some circumstances going on, so he couldn't come on.
Oh my gosh, he did not.
Yeah, well, if Pomp somehow listens to my podcast and shows up on Bad Crypto, I would at least appreciate a plug. All right.
I'm going to message him again right now because come on.
You said yes, but there was a circumstance that popped up. And so if you could come on the show, that'd be great.
I love it. No, Pomp, I think, has done a really great job being that voice for the regular person. He speaks at a high level. He's able to, I have a lot of things in common with him too. We're both veterans, et cetera. And so I've, in fact, I consider his podcast and yours to be the two best in the entire space. But, I've got a lot of respect for the others and they're there for a reason. I find Peter McCormick as brash and as I don't want to say arrogant. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's in a way that's so, interestingly seductive. It's like, I got to listen to this because I want to know what he's going to say next. And he's got this kind of...
So I feel stupid. I actually don't know who he is. What's his show? Which one?
That's what Bitcoin did.
Yeah, what Bitcoin did.
Oh, that's what Bitcoin did. Okay, yeah, They're very popular. I've never, I don't listen to other shows. And the reason for that is I talk about crypto all the time with Travis. And two, I don't want to ever be accused of taking somebody else's, ideas.
Yep.
And so the podcasts I listen to are totally unrelated to crypto and business for the most part.
That's actually the same way that I've done this in the past. But recently, as I was getting ready for Bitcoin Radio's podcast to launch, I wanted to kind of be a little bit more familiar with, the structure and the style that's expected from the top, from the top to top. I started with you guys, but I have been listening to you. You were the only podcast I even had on my my subscriptions on podcasts, Apple Podcasts, for over a year, as far as crypto was concerned.
This is pretty funny. I just looked up Pete's podcast on iTunes, and it's copyright Satoshi Nakamoto, and it says in parentheses, not Craig Wright.
Isn't that awesome? Yeah, he's a huge Bitcoin maximalist, though, and he doesn't tolerate much with that doesn't have to do with Bitcoin. I think you guys know that. We talked about that the other day.
Yeah, he said that he was not going to have us on his show because he is Bitcoin only. And I said, we're going to let's do a show swap. Let's get you on. And he said no, because I don't talk about shit coins.
I don't know if you follow his Twitter or not, but he was exceptionally transparent. He put out every statistic, every dollar, everything he ever made a couple months back, about his entire show. And I was like, wow, that is crazy. He doesn't have to do that. I don't know if it was more subtle bragging that he just wanted to show everybody that he was making $500,000 a year, or if it was more like, I just really want to show everybody I'm transparent. I don't know. I don't necessarily have any desire to do that.
Some people do this. Some people do that. We chatted with John Lee Dumas on a Castbox episode that we did a while back, and he does that too. John Lee Dumas is really big into that, and they got that from Pat Flynn, and Pat Flynn doesn't do that anymore. What's interesting though is that since he doesn't talk about, that's what's interesting to me is that he doesn't talk about any other blockchain projects. And then all the other sponsorships seems to me to be on other blockchain projects that are trying to get exposure. So how he could be making 50, 60 grand a month just talking Bitcoin when there is no official Bitcoin sponsor seems interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. And I mean, I'm not.
He must have like some exchanges be sponsors or something. I'm not sure.
So he said no to us, Travis?
He said no, yeah.
Oh, my feelings are so hurt. Yeah.
Well, he can come on our show. He said he can probably come on our show. We can come on his because we talk crypto.
I don't want to be on his show. There.
We want to be on Joe. We want to be on Joe Block. We want to be on Bitcoin Radio. That's what we want to be on.
We want to be where we're welcome, and that's fine. I don't need to break into anybody's house. I'm good with whatever. We had that come up with Nick Szabo. Also, we thought Nick would be good to have on the show, and he didn't like the company that we keep. He's like, you guys, interview people like McAfee and Brock Pierce. Like those were ones he called out in particular. And I don't want to be he didn't say, I don't want to be associated. That's not a quote, but that's a paraphrase pretty much. He said, sure. Okay. So Travis said, okay, EABOD.
Yeah. Eat a bag of dicks.
Okay. That might have a bleep in it, just for the record. Nevertheless, I look at, people who have that kind of judgment, regardless of your opinion on John McAfee or Brock Pierce or whatever else, in this space, you guys are, and I guess I'll consider myself involved in this too, especially with CCT, but we have I guess really a responsibility in this case to also be journalists as much as we are entertainment, and I don't. Well,
I don't know. Don't call me. Yeah, don't call me a journalist. I mean, look, this is the way I see it, and I think Travis will concur. We are entertainers first, and we provide information as we entertain. I mean, maybe you could flip that on some days, but infotainment. But we crack jokes. We break out into song in the middle. We make, we make offhanded political references. We're too, You
say things like EABOD.
Yeah, EABOD. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to remember that. And Travis, I will credit you the next time I ever bring that up.
Sounds good. Or you could do Louis C.K. Right. I think he was the first one to say "eat a bag of dicks." That's the genesis of that.
But that's okay. Fair enough. No, Louis C.K.
Or just beep. That's what we do. We just beep stuff.
That's what I mean by edit.
Okay, don't eat a bag of dicks. Just eat a dick. Is that better? Was it the plural amount of dicks? Was that the problem?
This conversation. Where's McAfee when you need him?
I mean, when you have John McAfee, Yeah, right. When you have McAfee on the show, that it's going to come up because the dude said he would eat his dick if Bitcoin didn't hit, $1 million by the end of 2020. And we asked him, how do you prepare that? And Travis is like, do you make a dick lasagna or, what?
This is quickly getting out of hand, and I like it. This is the entertainment you guys were speaking of.
That's true.
I like
we
this.
did ask
Okay.
him.
So
he goes, well, the problem is I won't be eating my dick because I have done the math. And so, that
he's going to be eating his dick. I mean, there's no way Bitcoin hits 1 million by the end of 2020. Yeah. I'm just going to say
16 months.
No freaking way. No.
So for those listening at home, if you haven't figured out, we're playing this drinking game called Drink Every Time You Hear the Word Dick. And I think we're getting somebody drunk right now.
Just so you know the math, that means Bitcoin would have to increase 100 times from where it's at now at 10,000 over the next 16 months.
I don't foresee this occurring.
Do you think that it ever can reach 1 million?
Yes.
Me too.
I think so.
And here's, I'm going to play devil's advocate because although I think the time frame is probably off, as you just noted, if we're at 20,000, if we get back to the all-time high, which I anticipate that we will at some point, before that date, that actually takes those numbers and cuts them in half, right? So every time we go up, it does make it easier to get to, and every time we set a new standard. But I don't like focusing on 1 million. Because I think the 100,000 is the new 10,000. And I was just talking about this on my live stream last night, is that, I remember back in 2016 when Bitcoin was like $750. And I really just started paying back attention to crypto at a high level. The first time I've ever taken crypto seriously was in 2016. And in that time period, I remember like having conversations, can Bitcoin ever stay above the price of gold? James Clayton was kind of famous for comparing it to that. And then, after we crossed over, $10,000 was the next benchmark. It was like, is $10,000 ever going to be reasonably, in the time period that we're all okay with? And little did we know later that year we were going to hit 10,000 and beyond, of course. But I look at 100,000 as this number that everybody's like, there's no way it can happen. It's so far away. Or if it does happen, it's going to be 5 years from now. I'm like, man, we're only a 10x from that. And we've done it how many times since, 2014, 2015, it's happened over and over again that we've gone up a lot and gone down a lot. What do you guys think? 100,000, is that reasonable in the next 18 months?
I think it's possible. I'm going to go with possible.
That's a safe answer, Joel. You're safe. Travis, be unsafe.
I'm practicing.
I would
safe
say
crypto.
that it's probable. I would say that it's probable. It really depends on, is Bitcoin the Friendster of crypto? I don't think so. Is it the MySpace of crypto? I don't know. I think that as some of these other companies start popping up with their cryptos like Libra and some of this other stuff, that's going to bring more validity to Bitcoin. But I think, Bitcoin's been around now for 10 years and it's continually being developed and it's better and better. And so, I think based on math, if all of the gold market of $7+ trillion was in crypto, how much would Bitcoin be worth? It would be worth a lot. And then you start factoring in all these other things that's going to be digitized over time. Maybe Bitcoin's not, won't hit some of those huge prolific numbers, but I think that the total crypto market cap is going to reach $1 trillion, in the next probably 24 months or so. I think that would make sense to me. That would happen. So I think when we see $1 trillion full-on market cap, and then after that, 10 trillion, how does that get divided amongst the different projects? It's hard to say. But, the crypto market's growing, more and more money's getting in there. We're starting to see backed in the Bitcoin futures are going to start happening, and we're going to start seeing some real movement, I think, eventually.
I say this, when Tether falls, we're going to see that run. Because when Tether falls, what do you have to do? You have to buy back into Bitcoin. And people are going to be freaking out. They're going to be buying Bitcoin at an astronomically high price, over $1. They'll be buying it like $1.80, $2, $3, and just managing, the risks, that they've already, their losses. But I think the fall of Tether, when that happens, I feel like that's inevitable at some point. And that's kind of my prediction. When Tether falls and when there's enough bad things that happen to Tether, that's when people will get out of Tether and they'll buy back into Bitcoin. At least that's my prediction, at least. Anyways. All right. So we'll wind it down, boys. I appreciate you guys coming on. Where can they find you? I know that's most people probably already know, but let's hear it.
Travis is in the Kansas City area. I'm in Denver.
That's true. That's where you can find us literally. But we are also in badcryptopodcast.com.
God, y'all are dicks today.
I'm sorry.
Badcryptopodcast.com.
Yeah, I'm feeling particularly ornery today. I don't know. You're just making a lot of bad dad jokes, and some people, enjoy listening to it. I don't know why. My kids never did. Yeah, badcryptopodcast.com. We're in all the places.
Cheers. All right. Bitcoin Radio. I appreciate everybody listening. Of course, once again, you have Joel Toshi, Joel Comm, everybody, and Travis Wright. Not Mr. Wrong. He is Mr. Right. We appreciate you guys coming on. Thanks again.
Thank
Joe. You. Stay bad.
All right. Take care of the cryptoverse, everybody. It belongs to us. It is our responsibility. Until